All right, so if you follow boxing to any extent, you'll know that there was a hearing in the Court of Arbitration on Monday, and the arbitrator ruled in favour of Deontay Wilder. He believes that Tyson Fury is contractually obligated to fight Deontay Wilder for a third time or for a second time as part of this two-fight agreement that they had in place. He believes the fight should happen by the 15th of September, which means a fight between Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury for the undisputed champion of the world in August is now looking increasingly unlikely. Since then, there's been a lot said by a lot of the people involved. Just today, Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua going back and forth on Twitter about the whole situation. And I've just been sat here watching and listening to the fallout. And I just wanted to share my opinion on what's happened. Before I do that, my name is Rahul Jaychan. This is the Battle Camp. Thank you very much for joining me. I don't really have a lot to say, man, because I don't want to sit here and speculate about what's going to happen next, because there's so many different people involved. There's so many different organizations involved. There's so many different potential permutations that could happen. I'd be here all day trying to map things out. So I'd rather just sit here and watch and wait until something actually happens, and then react to the actual events rather than trying to preempt what's going to happen. But with that being said, I do want to talk about this arbitration situation. But before I do that, I just quickly want to say, like, when I started this channel a couple of years ago, I started by making majority of my early videos were based on boxing, and more specifically they were about the heavyweight division. I love discussing the three fighters that I've just mentioned: Wilder, Fury and Joshua. I love talking about the stuff that their teams had said in public, negotiations that were going on at that time for a fight mostly between Wilder and Anthony Joshua. And then I just got frustrated with it all, man. I just got bored of talking about the same stuff over and over again. Percentage of purses, who deserves what, if they fight each other, what broadcast partner should be used, and things of that nature. I just got sick of it because it felt like everyone just wanted to talk about everything to do with a fight apart from a fight itself. And then you can imagine summer last year, when discussions started between Fury and AJ's team, I was a little bit excited, man. I was a little bit optimistic about it all. And as time progressed, things started to become more and more real. We had a date not unofficially announced. We had a location officially announced effectively. And by Sunday last week, it felt like, all right, there's one thing left to do, is an official announcement by all concerned that the fight is happening in Saudi Arabia, August 14th, I think it was meant to be. And this is where you can watch it. But while all of this was going on, bubbling away in the background was this hearing in the Court of Arbitration that Deontay Wilder had mentioned months and months and months ago that he was pressing ahead with, because he believes that Tyson Fury contractually cannot be fighting Anthony Joshua because he needs to fight Deontay Wilder as part of this two-fight agreement first. And when Monday came, personally, I felt like it's a foregone conclusion. It's a formality. Like, they're going to rule it in favour of Tyson Fury and we're just going to go about a day as we planned. Clearly, that's not what happened. And that's what I want to talk about. Is just, I don't know what it is, man. Like, a lot of people, especially in the MMA community, they love saying stuff like boxing can't get out of its own way. Boxing is its own worst enemy. Boxing holds boxing back. And I don't necessarily agree with that, because I feel like majority of the people involved in the sport are good people. They're good, honest, genuine people. I believe that majority of the fighters, trainers, managers, people in the media, they just want to make an honest living. They just want to be compensated fairly. But I feel like a lot of the people in power in boxing, they're the ones that are just incompetent, it feels like. Because if you know that you've got this major risk on the critical path for an end goal, and the major risk being this hearing in the Court of Arbitration, to me, it feels like that's where your focus needs to be. Now, I don't know what was going on behind the scenes clearly with Tyson Fury and his team, But when you've got so many different promoters and people involved in your management structure, etc., etc., you'd think you've got more than enough brain power to understand that actually this is a bit of a risk here. We need to make sure that we win this case, otherwise we're in trouble. And the fact that everyone was so positive leading up to this situation, Bob Arum, Frank Warren, Tyson Fury himself, he even made announcements, Tyson Fury, the fight's 100% on, etc., etc. Bob Arum was interviewed on a regular basis over the last few months by Boxing Social and IFL TV, and he just kind of dismissed the risk involved with this arbitration. Oh no, we'll get that sorted out, it's not a problem. I just don't know, man. I don't know whether they were putting on this positive facade for us, and behind the scenes they were worried and concerned, or whether they're just so wrapped up in and used to having things go their own way that they didn't realize that this is a clear and obvious risk that they need to pay attention to. Like, promoters are very similar to politicians, in my opinion, because they love spinning information in their own favor. They love massaging the truth so it favors them. But I just don't understand in this situation here how that was ever going to work, because there's a legal document that both parties have signed and agreed to that clearly states, obviously, that Tyson Fury needs to fight Deontay Wilder a second time. And unless there was a clause within that document that Tyson Fury's team could have used to say, nope, because of this clause, that agreement is now void, then I don't understand where all this confidence was coming from. Clearly, I don't know what was written in that document. And more importantly, I'm not a fucking lawyer. But I just don't understand how you can be so incompetent when you're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars or pounds at stake, when you're dealing with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And you know what? This isn't just based on, this isn't just this, what I'm saying isn't just, the blame doesn't just fall squarely on the shoulders of Tyson Fury and his team. Because Eddie Hearn, he's the one that always talks about how he's the best promoter in the game at the moment. Oh, all of these guys are old. They don't realise what's going on in the world. I know how to make boxing. I know how to take boxing to where it needs to be. I want to be the UFC of boxing and all of this stuff. Like, you're negotiating a deal, like I said, worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and you know that there's this arbitration, that there's a risk to your project, right? This is a massive risk to the success of your project. And what assurances did you have in the lead up? Because in all of the interviews that I saw of Eddie Hearn leading up to, this hearing in the Court of Arbitration, he was a bit like, oh, we're not worried about that. That's nothing to do with us. That's for Tyson Fury and his team to resolve. But if they don't resolve it, there's no fight. So shouldn't there be some assurances in place to say, actually, you know what's going on with that? How can you be so confident that that's going to get ruled in your favor? And like I say, I just don't know whether it's incompetent, just being inexperienced, or whether it's just being that big-headed, and that's on everyone's part, and just being that, I don't know, man. I don't know how to put it into words. I just don't understand how this can happen at this level of a business, never mind just a sport. It just doesn't make sense to me, man. And it's quite funny because people on social media are here moaning about Deontay Wilder, basically taking this to the Court of Arbitration because they don't want to see the fight again, because the second fight between the two was so one-sided and Tyson Fury won that convincingly. And personally, I agree. I don't want to see a fight between them again. But contractually, if he has a case, he has every right to take it to court. Like, he has every right to be doing what he's doing. And believe you me, I'm not a fan of Deontay Wilder. And that's just because of the way he conducts himself outside of the ring. Some of the stuff that he's come out with since he lost to Tyson Fury. I've made videos about it in the past. Like, he's not in the wrong here. The people that are in the wrong are the people that were negotiating this deal on the behalf of the two fighters, more so Tyson Fury's team. But AJ's team do need to take some responsibility for this, because they should have had these assurances in place. Like, they put all of their eggs in this basket of Tyson Fury when they knew that this case is coming up, and they just took Bob Arum's word for it. Like, they just took Frank Warren's and Tyson Fury's team's word for it. It feels like, I mean, obviously, I don't know what's happened behind the scenes. Maybe they did get the requisite assurances that they felt they needed to be confident that a fight between Fury and Joshua will go ahead as planned in August. But clearly, it doesn't look like that now. So what's going to happen next? I don't know. It doesn't look like the situation between Wilder and Fury is going to be resolved quick enough for a fight between Fury and Joshua to go ahead in August, right? So either way, whether there's appeals or whatever, I don't feel like it's going to be something that can be turned around in a week or two. Do you know what I mean? So there goes your undisputed heavyweight fight. It doesn't feel like it's going to happen. And that, for me, is heavyweight boxing in this era in a nutshell. You get excited just to be let down in the last minute. But the word of the day is just incompetence. I don't understand. Honestly, I can't. I wish someone comes out and explains how you manage to find yourself in this predicament when you've had all of this time to prepare, and you've known that this hearing is on the horizon, and it just feels like it's just been ignored and swept under the carpet until it sprung this nasty surprise. But it's not a surprise, because we all knew that it was coming. Anyway, let me know what you guys think. Put your comments below. Don't be scared to like this video, share this video with a friend if you've enjoyed it, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Feel free to comment on anything that I've said in this video, or just comment anything generally about the situation. If you feel like I've missed something, if you feel like I'm incorrect about something, feel free to say below, and I'll be sure to respond to you. I'll catch you guys next time.